Welcome to Moose Plays, everyone. I'm the Liquor Moose, and today we will be going over my second pool game for Santa Smackdown 2018. For this pool game, we will be going up against Youngster Bill, who, in my opinion, is probably one of the better players in this tournament. But yeah, so like if you saw last game yesterday, we did manage to win against Oro. And yeah, we're 1-0. Unfortunately, not unfortunately, yeah, I guess. Bill is also 1-0 after he defeated Oro, so we both want to stay undefeated. So we definitely are both looking for a win here. So yeah, let's just take a look at what Bill drafted. So he ended up drafting Megaladios, Zeraora, Roserade, Volcarona, Piloswine, Skarmory, Primarina, and Sock. His Z user is the Volcarona. I didn't even mention what Oro Z move user was last time. I don't even remember, but that's whatever. You saw it on the list below, that's for sure. But anyways, yeah. So if you remember from last time, Megaladios was the biggest threat on Oro's team, which is not true this time, which is a little sad because Megaladios is still a huge threat, but Bill has a Zeraora there, which is just insane for my team to try to deal with because it is just so goddamn fast. Like, you can say, you know, Scarf Diggersby, but Zeraora can outspeed Scarf Diggersby, like, straight up. It's actually really annoying. And other than that, he just has a pretty solid lineup, in my opinion, of, like, some underrated mons and like Sock and Posmo's not really underrated, but it's just a good budget mon. Sock I do think is a little bit underrated, and then he just has like a bunch of like solid core members as well, like Skarmory, Primarina, and Roserade and stuff like that. Yeah, his team is really well rounded. I really like it. But yeah, so I had to build a team for this. So let's just take a look at what I decided to build. First up, we have the exact same melodic spread as last time, like slightly different moves. But yeah, the same spread as last time to be able to pivot into Megaladios the easiest. So once again, we are not 2-hit KO'd by anything unboosted Megaladios wants to throw at us. We have Toxic Recover Scald, which is the same as last time. I believe, yes, we have those three. And then because, mostly because he has a Volcarona there and I want to get my rocks up, but because he doesn't have a Tapu Fini that's able to set up, we do have Dragon Tail on here because that's more than likely like the more preferred way of phasing out certain Pokemon. So yeah, not too much to say about this. It was very similar to the same melodic that I brought last time. Next up, remember how I said how Zeraora is a huge threat to my team? Well, Blacephalon is the exact same for Bill's team. Blacephalon, if you like, literally all I need is stabs, and I can just look at his team. It just goes nuts. Fire Blast specifically is here because if I'm unboosted, I am able to guarantee 2-hit KO Piloswine, so he can't switch in on that. And other than that, really all I needed was Flamethrower and Shadow Ball as stabs. Scarf was just the optimal item to be able to outspeed his Zeraora and to be able to outspeed his Megaladios. And yeah, just, I don't know, it's pretty simple spread. I guess the speed is here for his Volcarona. Yeah, not too much to say about it. It's really well positioned against Bill. Next up, we have Raichu, which seems a little bit weird. So I made it on the premise of like kind of the same way I made my Jolteon, a lot of my Jolteon spreads in UPAD League, where like I pretty much have to bring this because Bill does have Skarmory and Piloswine, or not Piloswine, fucking idiot, has Skarmory and Primarina, which otherwise I might have an issue sort of dealing with as far as like electric attacks go. But at the same time, Bill also has very good switch-ins to this in the form of his Piloswine and his Zeraora. So traditional offensive Raichus don't seem to be able, like, just didn't seem to be where I wanted to be for the match. So in the end, I'm actually a very support-heavy Raichu with like basically a Toxic Fake Out set to be able to chip some stuff down. We have Knockoff here to be able to just basically claim items, and then I don't know. Maybe I should have been minus attack nature on the fake, or no, I think it was just because I did have Fake Out plus Knockoff that I wanted the neutral attack nature. But yeah, and then we just have Volt Switch for the momentum shenanigans, and yeah, I mean, if you've been around my channel for a while now, this set is not really anything new. But yeah, so that's Raichu. Next up, we have a very, very sad answer to Zeraora because this is literally the best that my team can come up with. If he is boosting item, of any sort, really. I guess maybe not expert belt, but if he is like any kind of boosting item like Magnet or Life Orb or anything like that, then this doesn't really become a check to it anymore. But basically, if he isn't a boosting item, I don't get 2-hit KO'd by Zeraora. And basically it's just like a general Drapion set, which in my opinion sort of looked good for the match. We have knockoff just to claim items, Earthquake specifically for Zeraora, Taunt to stop his specifically his Rosary for setting up spikes, as he like to do that, but also he does have Skarmory, so that can shut that down. And then also his Piloswine from setting up rocks, but I mean realistically it's probably just going to click Earthquake against the Drapion. And then Poison Jab, because it still does a decent chunk to both the Rosary, but specifically is still here for the Primarina to be able to hit that really hard. So next up, I want to like sort of stack him. I don't want hazards on my side of the field. I would much rather have them on his side of the field. Mostly because he does have that Volcarona, so I definitely want my rocks up. So we have Defog and Stealth Rock as obvious things. Taunt again to sort of shut down his Skarmory in case he did want to try to stack me. And then on top of that, we have the leftover 8 is put into a speed here, basically just to try to get a leg up on Bill's Skarmory if that's the case. And then we have Akaberry Bravebird for one of two things, either his Roserade or his Volcarona, because if his Roserade does not have HP Fire, it's basically hard-walled by Skarmory. And then at the same time, Volcarona is a pretty big threat, especially if he gets to set up, but if we have Akaberry and we're at full, then we can guarantee live a hit, and then not necessarily knock out either threat, but we get a huge amount of damage to the point where at least Scarfless Avalon can come in and revenge them afterwards. So yeah, and then also we need to be physically defensive because at this point in my building, Sawk did actually kind of seem like a pretty big threat, so I did want a decently reliable response to it. And then finally, we do have Mega Gardevoir because, again, like, Bill seems to have somewhat of a difficulty switching into this. Hyper Voice, just good stab. Thunderbolt for the Skarmory. Psyshock is fine here because I thought I only wanted Thunderbolt, but Psyshock is fine because it does guarantee 2-hit KO Primarina. And then we have Healing Wish because, honestly, Blacephalon is that big of a threat against Bill. If I have to end up bringing it in constantly and like it keeps getting shipped down by hazards or whatever, then I want a way to be able to reliably bring it back in safely. So Healing Wish is what that's for. And yeah, not too much to say about the Gardevoir. And yeah, that's the team. So let's go ahead and hop right into the battle. And we are back, and like we see here, Bill did decide to bring the Mega Latios, the Piloswine, the Zeraora, Volcarona, Primarina, and the Skarmory. So, looking at the potential lead matchups, I do kind of expect Bill to lead with either his Piloswine or his Skarmory to try to set up rocks. So I'm actually going to try to counter lead that and lead with my main Taunter, which is my Drapion. But Bill actually leads with the Zeraora, which, I mean, this was kind of my answer to it, or like my pseudo-check to it, so I'm perfectly fine with this. I'm just going to click Knockoff to claim an item either on this or on anything he switches in, and he actually shows that he is Magnet, so luckily we don't... I don't know, it was just cool to see the Magnet, because looking as we see here, he bulks up on my face, goes for Plasma Fist, and because we knocked off the Magnet, we are able to live with our Drapion and get an extra bit of Earthquake chip on it, which ultimately doesn't really matter, as I didn't want to risk him like going for any other attack other than Plasma Fist, because like even if he did have Drain Punch, like Plasma Fist was still very free for Bill, so there was no way I was risking switching in anything else to it. But yeah, he is definitely in range for Blacephalon to kill it. Obviously, as we see here, Bill did anticipate Scarf Blacephalon being a pretty good bring on my part, as we do see the Protect on the Zeraora. Even as he sees that, even with his Protect scouting to see what move I lock myself into, I'm perfectly fine with still firing off a Shadow Ball, as looking at his team composition, his most likely switch in is this Primarina here, and Primarina does not get sustained on its own, and he doesn't have a Wish Passer on his team either even, so Primarina can only switch in like a limited number of times before eventually it's going to die, especially seeing that even though he is Assault Vested based on the damage, Shadow Ball still does over a quarter of his health, so he really can only switch in one more time safely, and then after that I threaten to kill it with like basically 2-hit KOing it. But yeah, I don't really have a great switch into this Primarina myself, so I'm going to switch it to my Melodic. Bill makes that read pretty easily and goes for Energy Ball, but luckily because we're pretty heavily specially defensive, we don't take too much damage. Recover seemed obvious on my part, so I kind of figured Bill was going to go into Zeraora here, so I do predict him to switch out and go for the Toxic and get this thing on a timer, and with my Drapion gun, I don't really have a fantastic switch into this, so unfortunately my Raichu is kind of forced into that role, as Drain Punch doesn't do too much to us, and I'm going to go for the Fake Out here to try to kill this Zeraora, and I guess Bill did see that coming, because, like, who predicts Fake, like, I don't know, why else make that move, and like, who predicts Fake Out Raichu, right? I guess maybe the leftovers kind of tipped him off, but either way, if the only way he kills me here is with Earthquake and he's mixed, so I'm just gonna click Toxic and get this Mega Latios on the timer, as he does go for the Shadow Ball, probably anticipating my Gardevoir to switch in, but now he goes for Ice Beam, which does kill my Raichu, as it wasn't really doing a whole lot. Now that his Zeraora and his Mega Latios is toxic, I think I'm pretty safe to let my Raichu go down, and luckily that Mega Latios is out of range where Shadow Ball could knock it out, so I'm, again, like, kind of the same thought process here. It doesn't really matter that he keeps switching into Primarina here. Like, Shadow Ball does so much damage, even if he is Assault Vested, that I'm perfectly fine with this. So now here, pretty much with, like, seeing as this is my only chance to get rocks up, I do switch into Skarmory. He does get the burn, which obviously doesn't matter. But we do safely get our rocks up, and hopefully we can keep them up, as with the amount of HP this Primarina is at, it will die to Psyshock from my Mega Gardevoir. So I do go for that, and once again, Bill does switch in the Piloswine here, but it's just nice chip for later on. So yeah, I switch out my oh my goodness, my Mega Gardevoir and go into my Melodic, because that's probably the best thing to take hits from this Piloswine in case you wanted to attack. As offensively speaking, it did seem like pretty free for Bill to start spamming attacks with his Piloswine. He does switch into his Skarmory here. I'm assuming for like the same reason that I switched my Skarmory into his Primarina. This was a chance for him to get some hazards up. But yeah, so luckily on the first Scald I do get a burn here, but now it's just going to be a bit of a back and forth between my Melodic and his Skarmory, as to like him roosting and me just firing off Scald, either trying to get a crit or force Skarmory's HP low enough to where if he goes for a move other than Roost, then I can knock it out with a second Scald. As I believe after this one is when we see, I think Bill's going to fire off a Spike here. As you see here, I do go for the Scald. Yeah, it does not too much damage, and yeah, Bill does decide to go for the Spike here to get some more hazards up. So now the Skarmory is dying to a Scald. And yeah, so we are hopefully trying to slowly climb back from this 3-mod deficit that we came back from. And now this Zeraora is in it. It's a huge threat. I don't really have a switch into this thing, and oh, that's a lot of damage. But Melodic is a boss and hangs in there at 1 HP. I went for the Dragon Tail there in case he wanted to try to set up in front of my face. And with the amount of health he was at, then he would die to rocks basically next time, like on his next entry. But now we see his Primarina comes in, and I'm just gonna click recover here, because with this, like, getting Dragon Tail into Primarina was absolutely the best possible situation for me right now, because it was actually the only thing. Actually, I'm not sure if Ice Shard from Piloswine would be able to kill, but other than that, this was like the only thing that my Melodic outsped. So that means that I can get a recover off and get a ton of HP back. As if it was anything else, my my Melodic would 100% be dead. So thankfully we did Dragon Tail him, get a bit of like RNG luck with the Dragon Tail. But yeah, I'm just, like I said, I'm just gonna recover up. And now, unfortunately, Bill has me sort of in like a similar corner as I had his Skarmory in, where he, like, clicking Energy Ball for him is relatively free. But it's fine with me, because since I have leftovers, his Energy Balls, like, are doing a lot less to me than my Scalds were doing to his Skarmory, especially considering that I had the Scald burn. So I believe it was at this point, now that I'm at 60%, that I knew I could live a non-crit Energy Ball. Yeah, and I just fire off a Toxic and get some start getting some residual damage off on this Primarina. Now here is a play that I'm not really too sure why Bill made this play. I do agree that Zeraora was a sack, but I don't understand why it was here, because recover was very free for me there. Like, I mean, if the past turns were any indicator, like, it was very clear that I wanted to keep my Melodic alive, and I was just gonna spam recover, especially considering that I was faster than his Primarina. So while I do agree that at some point he was gonna do that with his Zeraora, I don't necessarily agree with it there. to potentially, like, I think it would have been better to potentially see if I ended up bringing out my Scarf Blacephalon, since he knows that it's Scarf, or at least it's a pretty fair assumption on Bill's part that my Blacephalon is Scarf. I think it would have been better for him to save his Zeraora as a sack to see what I lock myself into with my Zeraora. But either way, that's in the past. Now that my Melodic is extremely healthy, Bill actually goes into his Volcarona. I can't let this thing set up because it's a huge threat. So I do click the Dragon Tail button. Luckily, he does just click Roost, which means we're going to get another decent chunk off of his HP once he switches out. I actually get a little bit fortunate here in the case, just in case his Mega Latios is like a mixed attacker in the sense where I do get burned, to get Marvel Scale and raise my defense. Same thought process on that play there. I didn't want the Mega Latios setting up just in case it was a setup variant, because the whole point of my Melodic spread is to be able to take hits from non-boosted Mega Latios. So I did click Dragon Tail there to be able to phase it out there. And make sure that his Mega Latios could not get boosted, and potentially not only be able to break through my Melodic, but potentially outspeed my Blacephalon. So now that once again I Dragon Tail Bill into his Primarina, it's a pretty free recover, as Energy Ball isn't doing a ridiculous amount to me because I'm pretty heavily specially invested. And yeah, as we're going to see, this Primarina ends up dropping to Toxic. And we're going to see Bill here switch in his Mega Latios. Again, same thought as before. I'm just Dragon Tailing him out. I don't want him to set up and potentially outspeed my Blacephalon. That was the whole point. So now his Mega Latios goes away, and we Dragon Tail him out into his Volcarona, which is probably, once again, the best case. I think he sees now that I'm just going to keep spamming Dragon Tail, so Bill just takes his kill right here. But we are in luck and kind of put Bill into a corner, because now everything here is 2-hit KO'd by Flamethrower or better, which means he couldn't switch in his Piloswine because he would have to take rocks, take the Flamethrower, and then take the next Flamethrower, which it would guarantee die to, and everything else was guaranteed dead to Flamethrower on entry anyways. So my Scarf Blacephalon is going to be able to clean up this game, and from a 6-3 deficit on our part, we are able to fight back and win this game 2-0. Wow, that was a really good game by Bill. GG, Bill. Like, that was really good, and it was a really fun game to play. And yeah, so we are ahead 2-0 with a +4 differential going into the next few, or going into our the second half of our pool games for Santa Smackdown. So it's looking pretty good. I guess I'll give a bit of context in the sense that after this game with Bill, like, I played my game with Oro and Bill on the same day, and it was quite a bit, like, it was more than a week between when I played my last two games and I played those on the same day. So I guess I'll explain more so. I'll explain more so when I get to the other games. But yeah. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the game. Keep your guys' eyes out on the channel tomorrow for Pool 3, which will be against my good pal Chez. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.